Thank you everyone for coming today. We are doing the Google Ads Advanced Campaign Structure and Optimization with AI today. We're really excited to be able to share with you some of our learnings and some of our thoughts on what's going on in the realms of Google with ChatGPT and AI and all the implications it has, particularly on search with Google Ads, paid ads, as well as a little bit of highlight on organics, and then also what our thoughts are to keep you competitive and make sure that you're able to proceed. So first off, before we get started, thank you, New York Tech Week. It's been really an honor and a pleasure to be able to participate this year. Thank you for having us be a part of the community, and it's been really nice to be able to give back to the community as well. So thank you for providing this opportunity for us. Before we get going, as people are still trickling in, why don't we ask a really quick poll? So the poll questions are, where are you joining us from today? And on a scale of 1 to 5, how familiar are you with Google, in general, Google Ads? And then how much does your company currently spend a month on Google Ads? If you can take a few seconds and answer these questions. Great, thank you. So let's get started. So I'm Hamlet Azarian. I'm a lifelong learner focused on growth. I've been predominantly dedicated my whole career in learning and growth. And what this really means is being able to quickly run experiments, understand what's going on with them, from that being able to take the lessons learned and be able to apply it. Whenever there's something new or innovative that comes out, that excites me because I know there's going to be change, there's going to be opportunity, and there's going to be a transformation to the status quo that will be able to allow us to figure out new ways of growth. So that's kind of who I've been for the past 20 plus years. And that's what we kind of encourage in our ecosystem. So what is our ecosystem? We have the Azarian Growth Agency, which is a team of highly skilled marketers where we come and partner with high growth companies, and we help them develop go-to-market strategies. These are particularly early stage or high growth organizations. We come and build on-premise or dedicated teams that are able to quickly iterate and run different experiments and be able to figure out the go-to-market strategy. What you're at here today is our Growth Lab series. Our Growth Lab series is our monthly webinar series where we're offering different insights from all the experiments that we're running or all the different lessons we've learned along the way. We also have our Growth Ventures podcast, and here you kind of get to listen and hear and learn from the different founders and startups on how they go about and how they deal with growth in general, from failure as a whole, and what the lessons in their journey has been. And finally, we have our Growth Academy. Our Growth Academy is dedicated to helping individuals who want to learn the fundamentals of growth. We take different students and individuals, and we form different growth teams, and we partner them with early stage startups, and they go through about a 2-month curriculum where they are able to run quick growth experiments, and from that, they're able to learn the foundations of growth. So what will we cover today? We're going to go over some advanced Google Ads strategies, campaign structures. We're going to go over bidding strategies. We're going to talk about the zero-click revolution that's becoming more prevalent on Google. We're going to talk about the search generative experience. We're going to talk about AI-powered ads. And then lastly, we're going to talk about the future of Google. And I promise to leave some time available as well for questions and answers. So let's first get started. So what you're looking at here is data from Statistica, and it kind of shows overall the digital advertising spend globally, worldwide. So you can see right now we're hovering roughly close to 626 billion, right, with a B, dollars in spend. And then last year was roughly around 567 or 568 billion dollars. And what I want you to notice is a consistent growth year over year of digital ad spend. What you're now looking at is the total Google revenue. Basically, as you can see, Google's revenue, the past 20 years and how it's been able to accelerate in billions of dollars. And if you remember, I just showed you in this prior graph, $568 billion, and Google is now generating $280 billion in revenue. So almost half of the total ad revenue is what Google's total revenue is as a whole. Now what I'm going to show you here is ChatGPT. So as of November of last year, we all saw the phenomenon of ChatGPT. What you're looking at here is the similar web stats that shows the accelerated growth of ChatGPT. We went from zero close to 1.75 billion users, which is the fastest in history, obviously, on the accelerated growth in a very, very short time frame. There's been a little lull, but still sticking around, right? People are actively using ChatGPT. So what is the impact this is having? And we'll get into some of this with some of the areas that have been struggling and some that have not. One that has not been struggling has been Google. This is kind of normal ebbs and flows, 80 billion to 88 billion, but hovering around the 84 billion mark of monthly traffic visitors. So Google search is still important. People are still actively searching, even though ChatGPT has come around. Now, what are we going to talk about? So we're going to, because Google search is important, I want to kind of build the foundation of what we promised and why you're here today, right? We're here to talk about different Google advanced campaign structures, but we're also going to highlight some of the newer ones that are coming that you need to be aware of because it will allow you to find the next competitive edge and also to be able to protect what you have currently going on if you are utilizing any of these campaign structures. I'm not going to go through all 8 of them. Obviously, there's a lot here, but we have additional information we will provide at the end of the webinar that will talk about all these different ones. But I will highlight 2 or 3 of them here. These are the ones that we have listed around. So it'll be the SCAGs using exact and phrase campaign structures and what the benefits of those are and what are some of the cons. And I'll make sure I do that for each one of these. We'll talk about broad match campaign with smart bidding. We'll also talk about campaign split based on keyword performance and smart bidding. So first about SCAGs. So what a SCAG structure typically is a single keyword ad group. That means within each ad group, there is literally one keyword. So it's a one-to-one match. So you have one ad group, one keyword, and then you can do multiple ad iterations of it. And what the benefits of this are is that it's really, really hyper-focused. It gives you ultimate control, especially if you start doing a couple things. And one of those is you basically end up running phrase match or you run exact match. So typically what I like to say is these are core campaigns. These are some of the ones that you initially build with. You will build your best performing keywords and put them in exact match. And then you will build a secondary campaign following the same structure and be able to put that in phrase match. And by doing this, you're able to control your top keywords or basically what's going to be able to drive your highest ROAS. And you're going to be able to bump up your quality score as well. So you're not going to necessarily be bidding as high as you choose to. And you're going to be able to have a high quality score, competitive bids, and focused on protecting your most important campaigns. Obviously, the challenges or cons of this is that your data really gets scattered, right? You can't necessarily take advantage of any of the smart bidding strategies. You're more or less an enhanced CPC. You could try to take it if the volume of those keywords are high, but that ends up being rare. And then on top of that, you're able to bid specifically what you need. I mean, the other con is that when you actually run a lot of these and you expand too big, it becomes really, really, really hard to manage because you need to put a lot of negative keywords and you need to do a bunch of different ways to continue optimizing. So the opposite of this strategy is typically called the broad match campaign with smart bidding. So what this does is now that you have your exact campaign and you have your phrase campaign protecting your best keywords, you could take their counterparts. So you can literally take the same keywords and now run it in broad, but you can now use smart bidding on top of that. So this will now allow you, with exclusions of the ones you're obviously running in exact and phrase, allow you to discover the next batch of great keywords that convert well for you. So the combo of these 2 campaigns is sort of what I prefer and I enjoy setting up in most of our ad structures because it allows you several things. One, you get the best keywords in the previous structure I told you, and you get to maximize the return on ad spend. And then in this one, you get to discover new keywords that eventually you can graduate and move into the other campaigns. So what is the advantage of this? It's the bidding is a little bit controlled, right? Because you're using smart bidding here, and it makes it a little bit easier to manage these campaigns. And then on what are the cons is you really you're really taking a leap of faith here. You as a paid media buyer are trusting Google's algorithm. You want to ensure that you're providing it the right data. You're trusting your ability to be able to provide accurate offline conversion so you can optimize on it. You're most likely going to lose quality scores compared to the other campaign structure. So there's going to be a slight drop off there. And overall click-through rates are also going to drop. There's another variation of this, which is called basically campaign split based on keyword performance with smart bidding. So what ends up happening is when you have the broad initial ones, you might start discovering certain keywords that are doing better than others within broad. So then you might start branching off into several other broad smart bidding campaigns to be able to improve the performance of your overall strategy that you have going on here. So this is a diversion of the general broad. This is sort of an optimization of that. The cons here again is that you start now all of a sudden having too many campaigns. So you just need to start using shared budgets. It becomes a little bit harder to keep track of where you're doing negation. So you start doing negative lists. And then it becomes really, really hard to understand where are the new search terms coming from, which campaigns are generating them. But overall, this is the third version of the next graduation of the campaigns that we typically like to recommend. Obviously, I've been talking a lot about smart bidding here. So that's what is smart bidding, right? So for those of you that don't know, this is a really quick refresher. There's really two prevalent times. One is target ROAS, which is return on ad spend, and the other one is target CPA. In target ROAS, it's revenue on ad spend. You need the revenue numbers being loaded back into the system. It's very sensitive to the conversion value. It's also sensitive to the length of time it takes for you to be able to achieve the conversion. So if you set 1 day, if you set 7 days, if you set 30 days, or you set 90 days, it's critical to really understand the cycle it takes from first click all the way to the conversion event. But it's pretty reliable and it's pretty accurate. It's able to generate the return on ad spend you need for anywhere between 100 to 350 to 400% I've seen in this particular type of campaign structure is able to kind of consistently generate in this type of bidding. The other one is target CPA. So this is when you don't have the revenue information, but you know what your ultimate CAC can be or should be. So then you are able to set this type of campaign up. This might be, top of the, this might be like lead key, you have lead information, but the funnel is now fully developed out. So you want to set a target CPA because you're not willing to spend more than X amount per lead. Or it might be an add to cart. It's a new campaign, you're starting to develop it out. You really don't have revenue numbers yet, but you're willing to spend X amount to get a user to add to cart because that's closer to the actual purchase event. Okay. So let's ask a quick poll before we go on to the next section. So have you ever used AI-powered tools for ad creation is the first question. And the second one is, what concerns, if any, do you have using AI in ad creation? So as you guys are addressing that, so obviously we're going to transition now into the world of AI and Google Ads and what is going on. So Google has spent close to 25 years improving the search experience, and now they're introducing generative AI capabilities, right? So the capabilities here provide AI-powered snapshots of key information, suggestions for next steps, and conversational exploration. What we mean by that, within the tools of Google, and I will show some of these things, you're able to produce ad copies faster, you're able to produce ad campaigns themselves. So what's also really happening is AI is also transforming the search engine results page. So this is where ultimately where your ads come in from. So there's going to be a different potential user behavioral shift that is starting to already occur, and we'll show you different stats and data that suggest this, particularly how it's affected sites like Stack Overflow and Quora. And we'll get a little bit into what we believe what's happening, not only on the organic side, we'll touch a little bit upon it, but more importantly on the paid side. So where is all this going, right? So there's this notion of zero-click revolution. And what this is, for some of you who are not aware of it, is like when you search on Google, your behavior stays on Google. So meaning you will either search again, so you will find another keyword and you will search there, or you will get your answer on your first search. So Google will show you through either, rich snippets. So it might be images, it might be answers that are generated that you will get the answer that you needed. So this becomes sort of the zero-click revolution. Why this is important is SEM Rush did a study that close to, in 2022, 54% of all Google searches were categorized as zero-click. And so this is the actual breakdown from them. So let me kind of explain what that is. So zero clicks is literally you search and you didn't do anything. And it also includes Google keywords. That means that you refined your search and you did a secondary search. And it also includes Google clicks. So that means you actually searched on, let's say, images or places, but you stayed on Google's property. You did not go on a paid ad, which would take you off of Google property, or an organic click that would take you off of Google property. So what does that look like in a common SERP page? On a common SERP page is, if most SERPs, and I'll show you in a little bit, have different structures. One will be the paid ads that get predominant placement on the top. Then you'll have the Google information or the Google properties that will take the right menu and will also break up some of the organic searches here and typically here. And then you'll have the normal organic searches, that are, it varies on, it'll be either top 2 are here or top 3 are here, and then the rest are here. And it's usually, 3 to 8, or it might be 3 to 9, and so on and so forth. And then you have your page that are sandwiching it. So on the top and the bottom. So this is what a typical Google SERP results page looks like. There's many variations of this, but this kind of gives you the idea of it. So what's happened now is there's now a search generative experience that's coming that's going to transform and change all of this, right? So it's going to introduce a new layer of Google being able to answer your query. That's going to be much more conversational in nature. That's going to give you a different viewpoint. It could potentially hurt organic clicks. It could also potentially affect what's going on paid. So it's really important to start paying attention to what's going on here. Obviously, Google is in the business of making revenue. I kind of shared how much revenue they're making earlier. So they will try to intertwine and protect paid as much as possible. But the reality is we don't know. User behavior is changing, and user behavior, once it does, Google will adjust and adapt to it. But I will share insights of what I see already today and what could the future be. So what will happen, right? So do we think the Google's results page will change in the future? It of course will. It already has in the lab section, and I'll show you how, if you haven't already, to get activated in it. So overall, we believe this search generative experience is potentially also building a new opportunity. So if you actually go through and you start playing around with the SGC, there's a report that Insight Partners recently did, that you will notice that the blogs and the content Google is recommending are not the same ones that you see on the organic listing. So there is even an opportunity for a new way of optimizing for SGE. So this is a new kind of phenomenon that's also starting to happen. So what does all this look like on the new SERP results page, right? So I shared earlier, this is what the old page looks like, and here's the new one. So what's happening here is this box is becoming your SGE. The paid ads are still above here, but it's starting to take, as you can see, a more prominent location. It's allowing a new avenue of not only answering your queries, but also collecting information that will hopefully help you better get to the results you need, most likely used for advertising as well. And I'll kind of show you examples of that, and then provide other areas that Google is collecting. So the organic might get split into 3 sections. There'll be more of this going on where there's other avenues for you to increase the zero-click component, but paid would still stay dominant on top, but it'll obviously make it a little bit more expensive to be able to compete in here. So what does this look like so far? And here's one example, right? You can see that here, where I'm showing is that the sponsored ad here on project management is on top. You can see the SGE experience. Here are the organic ranks coming from it. And I'll show you this in real life in a second too. And this is what it ends up looking like. So you'll see here Asana, which is also for direct click through inline. You can click and go there. You can see additional auto-generated follow-up questions. And you can see the blog articles that were particularly used to come up with this answer. You can see all that here. And where is this leading to, right? So what's happening is we're already seeing on certain sites a huge impact. We're seeing a 15 to 25% traffic drop on particular websites that are certain types of rankings that they were doing before. This is not just because of SGE, this is obviously because of ChatGPT and user behavior shifting. But as I shared earlier, even though ChatGPT came around, it didn't necessarily take traffic away from Google, but it took traffic away from other types of sites. And some of those sites are Quora. As you can see how Quora went from 800 million visitors before ChatGPT coming around, and then dropping all the way down to, in the below 700 now. And then another one is Stack Overflow. As you can see, it was at 280 million visitors and it's dropped well below 200. So there's particular types of informational knowledge gathering types of sites that are starting to quickly get affected by all of the change in behavior that's occurring. So if you extrapolate that, Kat, and you infer that, that means certain type of searches on Google that you were before going to, right? It might have been awareness searches or informational searches could potentially quickly get transformed into the SGE experience. So it's really top of the funnel types of searches where you're still not sure what you're looking for, or you're still not sure what the problem really is, and you're still exploring and trying to learn what it is. That type of information might quickly get gathered up with the SGE experience. So let's see how all of this works in person. One second. So I'm gonna do some personal searches. My Halloween's around the corner, so we want to find a Halloween outfit for a family of 4. So here is what SGE, you'll see it's up here on this particular one. It didn't auto-generate. It still allowed me to see my sponsored ads. So these are paid ads, product listing ads right here. It still formulated that. So product ads got predominant placement, even though SGE is here, but it wasn't auto-generated. It still has the Google click area here, where if I wanted to go into the images, I can easily click. It has the organic listing up here, and an additional organic listing, and so on and so forth. So this is this particular search query. So now if I went down a little bit more to something like this, and I did that search, so this is, I'm giving Google more data and how I'd particularly be searching on ChatGPT, right? So Google's already starting to realize that I'm not sure what I want, and it's starting to build a little bit of a search generative experience for me, and it's giving me a little bit more information, right? So I searched, I have a 9-year-old boy and a 1-year-old girl, and what is a cute Halloween theme? I can dress them up today. So this goes through and it goes through different themes. It comes up with different ideas. It showcases different stores I could potentially from. So this could be potential, that I should be looking at. It shows me even a location of close ones that I can go to. And then it also shows the articles that I can potentially click through to go learn. And then down here, again, this is much more of an informational search. So I'm not even seeing necessarily ads at this stage, right? So it's not affecting any of that. And then the last one is like, if I knew a little bit more what I want to buy. So I have a bumblebee for 1-year-old girl. That's what I want to buy. I start now seeing this. So this is now my paid ads, right? So still getting prominent placement. And then in addition to that, getting the generative AI experience that we just saw earlier. So if these weren't enough, this gives me a little bit more of idea so I can explore. These are the articles or where the information came from as it went to customer reviews. And it's giving me a little bit more of an experience here. And then we go down to the normal experience that we're used to. So Google's trying to still do what it can to drive the ads, right? To continue protecting it, but it's also thinking about the user experience, and it's making sure that it is able to answer your query better. Okay, so we'll stop with the demo here. So now let's kind of talk about how all of this is more taking place in the world of Google Ads itself. So welcome to AI chat inside of Google Ads. So what you will start seeing now, or if you haven't already inside of your Google Ads account, is your ability to quickly start creating ads at a faster scale, right? So you can put into your URL, you can put in exactly descriptions of what the product is. And from that, those two combination of those two things, Google will start helping you create your ads. So how it'll do that is it'll start giving you more or less, it'll start filling in what your headlines are. Is it'll tell you here, it already generated potential 11 keywords that it thinks it's optimal for this particular ad group. It will give you the different headlines that it thinks you should test with. It will start giving you descriptions, site links, the whole 9 yards. So the whole campaign structure generation process that would take a little bit longer before has now become streamlined, and it's optimized for you to quickly start creating more campaigns and be able to quickly iterate and test different concepts. As you can see, as it will continue going on, it will give you additional information. Here are the descriptions, and so on and so forth. It could even potentially create the images help for you. It could start generating the different type of images, and I wouldn't be surprised in the very near future, it might even start creating sort of slideshows and videos for you as well too. So how does all this end up looking? It looks like the same way you would have seen inside of a Google Ads, right? So whenever you combine all of this, you will still see the ad, and it's more optimized, it's more personalized. And then you can do all of these different campaign structures that we talked about earlier. You can just utilize that content creation component of Google Ads. So it's very important to see all of that. The other thing that we're starting to notice, where we're talking about data and we're talking about the generation of all of this, is this particular campaign structure. And this was a hot topic most of you also asked to us to discuss for webinar, is Performance Max, right? So Performance Max, for those of you who don't know, is a campaign structure that came out a little while ago, that it helps improve overall conversion rate, and it helps it reduce overall cost per conversion. This is actually really true. So I know this is what Google said, us being paid media buyers, we're sometimes skeptical of what things come out, but the reality is this hold true. But it does take a lot away from you. It does take your inability to optimize in the different campaign structures that you had before. So it's really, really important to make sure before you go to this branch of running campaigns that you've really have a mature account. You've developed it, you've provided the right signals, the right data, and you're then building campaigns based off of those specific data and key points and keywords in order for you to be able to optimize off of it, okay? So this is the Performance Max setup. It kind of walks you through all of that. I'm not going to spend time here because I want to make sure I leave enough time for questions and answers. But it's still within here, you're able to also generate, and you can see you're able to generate images, and you're able to select those images. From those images, you're able to quickly go through and you're able to run the different types of campaigns. You're able to do the logos. I've talked about a lot here, but I want to kind of give you some other thoughts as well. So we look at running Google ads in this 4-box metric, right? So it's really, really important to consider all of these different elements on how you can scale, optimize, have a mature Google ad account that really, really can drive results. One of the first and foremost one is, how are you collecting the data? So what we mean by this is, how are you going about and actually collecting the information? How are you going about and processing that? Are you getting the full picture? Are you just getting client-side information, or are you getting server-side information as well? How accurate is it? Do you have all the things that you need to later on to be able to provide back to Google so it could start optimizing, which is the second one. What data are you providing back to Google for optimization? All the data, the signals that you're sending back, is it accurate? Have you captured all the gaps? Is there anything that you're missing? Because this data components is what's going to be used to be able to train the different ML models when you're using all these different smart bidding structures, or even these campaigns, these new ones, these Performance Max campaigns that behind the scenes are able to optimize and drive the results that you need. On top of that, how are you going about to create and optimize the creatives? So as I just showed you earlier, now Google's enabling this process to be a little bit faster, so you don't hit frequency limits. So you're able to iterate quickly. You're able to go through new concepts really, really fast. So how are you doing that? What is your process, and so on and so forth? And then how are you internally encouraging rapid experimentation? How are you not being complacent, to be honest? You're not sticking to the status quo and you're saying, hey, if it worked yesterday, it will continue to work. How are you constantly monitoring it, analyzing it, optimizing it? What cadence do you have in place that encourages a constant refresh and a constant allocation of discovery budget, so you're always ahead of the competition and you're always delivering the type of results that you need? So we feel that all 4 of these need to work hand in hand to really be able to drive campaign optimization. So open question for you guys, right? So I've talked a lot about here about AI. So what are you going to do? Are you worried about it? Are you embracing it already? Because, at the tail end of all of this, it's really three things I want you to take away. Okay. I really want you to continue to being competitors. You need to stay current. And what I mean by that is if you haven't already implemented sort of the labs, and we'll show you how to do that, search labs and playing around with the generative AI experience, you need to do that. You need to do that right after this call. You need to go and implement that. You need to start playing around with it, and you need to start exploring the different searches that are occurring, because Google right now today is testing and experimenting, and you need to start seeing what's happening on your typical searches. So this could be your brand search, this could be your top keywords, this could be your core business. How is it going to get affected when this gets fully rolled out? You need to be aware of that, and you need to already be ahead of the curve so you can react before the full rollout occurs. You need to not get complacent. So what I mean by that is you need to take this seriously. You need a war room. You need to be thinking about your data collection. Are you doing that properly? You need to think about the impact this is going to have on not just SEM, your paid ads, and what impact is going to have on SEO. If you're working with an agency, you can't just rely on the agency's experience, because the agency itself doesn't have a lot of experience on this yet. It's all new. It's all relevant. So you need to look at which agencies are talking to you about this, which agencies are actually informed, and are they actually experimenting through this, and what are the different experiments they're doing on organic already, what are the different experiments they're doing on paid. You need to also think about other channels just to protect your business. If you haven't expanded outside of other channels, it's really important for you to be aware of them. Some of them could be social channels like LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or Pinterest. On the paid media side, you need to make sure you've diversified just in case something happens to your core business, or CPCs, which is the bigger threat you have, go through the roof, because the real estate becomes much more limited and you're not able to become profitable anymore. But if you're running a return on ad spend, the volume then drops, and so on and so forth. So these are the things you need to take into mind. You need to also look at your keywords very closely. You need to go deep in your search terms report. You need to know what are your best-selling keywords, what have they been historically, and you need to monitor those closely like a hawk if you haven't been. And what I mean by a hawk is there's no tools talking about this. So this means like you literally searching these keywords on a consistent basis and seeing what's different in the generative AI experience, what's different in the search results pages. Are you seeing something that's happening both on impression numbers and clicks? Is there a direct impact happening both on your paid side and as well as your organic side if you're ranking for both? And then last, you need to analyze the risks. So what I mean by that is you really need to take this seriously. You need to understand if there is a transformational change, which I showed you on certain sites, on certain keywords, there already has been. It could be pretty significant. It can be upwards of 20 to 25% on traffic volume, but it also, the upside on the CPC and how expensive the CPCs might be is unknown either, right? So if there's less real estate available on top, and there's now there's a new search way of getting to the results available to you, the likelihood of those top 1, 2, 3, 4 spots is going to go even higher, and it's going to be more expensive. So it's really, really important to think about your campaign structures, one, and branching out and having those targeted campaign structures, and two, how to use the smart bidding structures, and also how to provide the data you need to be able to scale. And all of these different things need to be thought about all day long for you. So for a few of you that haven't got into where to go to do this, we'll also provide this at the end of the webinar as a link, but this is how you go about and activate SGE. If you haven't done it already, please go to labs.google.com/search. And you can learn more, and you can begin starting the process of being able to activate it. So for next steps, for everyone that attended today, we will have a survey at the end of this webinar. If you could just complete that, it'll be helpful. We promise we'll provide you all of these different free goodies, which includes how to do ultimate landing page optimization checklist, your Google's ads account health check, how you should be auditing it, AI generated ad copy, what are the ways to use AI generated ad copy, AI powered Google search, and the quality score, and how to really optimize it. So some of the things I talked about today in the webinar will go a little bit deeper, and you can read about all the different information here and kind of get tools that can help you audit your own accounts. So thank you so much for everyone attending. You can stand this here if as well as two, if you like, to be able to get to the survey as well. We promise also to do a potential free audit for you, absolutely no charge, just to go in there and kind of tell you what's going on, and for you to be able to know the different things you can do to improve your campaigns. If you've enjoyed this webinar, we're going to have other short, insightful information happening in the world of email in December that we will also at that time give you more updates of we notice how what's happening with AI because it's moving so fast, right? There's so much change occurring, and it's an exciting time. I mean, like where we were in November of last year and where we are October this year, so much has happened. Also, so much has happened in the last 2 years or so. So it's really exciting to see the transformational change that's occurring and the rapid evolution that's happening. And we'll talk more about how all this is impacting the world of email marketing, how it can improve overall, not just on deliverability, but open rate and personalization at a new scale. So that's coming up. And then lastly, I want to be able to open up for questions and answers. So thank you, everyone. Let me start pulling up some of the questions. So someone asked, what's the bid type for SCAG? Enhanced CPC is the one I prefer. And mainly is because you've already identified overall what are your best keywords, and now you're trying to control overall the costs for these keywords. Because you have a higher quality score, you don't necessarily need to bid higher than everybody. You can actually, you end up getting a discount, right? The point of getting a high quality score is that you have the right ad with the right keyword, with the right landing page, with the best user experience. So you don't need to overly bid and overly compensate to be able to win that spot. You're providing a great experience, so you're able to bid a little bit less and you're able to drive higher margins because of this. So I like to go down the CPC side. So the next question is, how do you identify your top keywords? So the way you identify your top keywords is you're basically looking at what's driving your overall highest return on ad spend. I think early on, so there's different ways, right? So early on, when it's a brand new ad account, you're looking for click-through rates. And then from there, then you're looking at conversion rate on that page that they're landing on. It depends on what you are. If you're in e-commerce, you're really looking for, are they adding to cart or are they going to the next step on the funnel? If you're a lead gen side, are they filling out the form? Or are they giving you the information? And then the next step after that, if you're e-commerce, are they going through the checkout flow? If you're lead gen, or is it a qualified lead? And then the next step after that, typically in e-commerce, is purchase, and then on a lead gen is close, and so on and so forth. So these different steps are different stages of the funnel, and you look at these things, and early on in the campaign, you're building those up. And then as you go deeper and deeper into it, you're kind of optimizing for those, and you're looking at the keywords that are driving that. The next question is, do you know how the SEO scoring differentiates from general SERP and the AI generated content? If it does, it does. So it does. So SGE is definitely different than the general. No one really knows what it is today. It's something that everyone is playing around and looking at. What it does look like to me, at least, you know, the several years of me doing SEO, which we'll have another webinar on this in the very near future. And hopefully by then we can really tell you what we've noticed, because we are actively researching this. But at least at early onset, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, you know, EAT became important, and then EEAT became important. And we think that's actually transforming into the SGE experience as well too. So it's really about trusted information that is unique, that's really answering the query, and is mostly insightful. So some elements of that is starting to rub off in the SGE experience. And also what we're noticing in the SGE experience, it's also the next transformation. So you might have had related queries, or you might have had other types of questions that you wanted. They're trying to make that really easy for you to be able to answer that. So that's sort of our early signs of it. What this is exciting for SEOs, because we really think there's a new avenue for sites that historically were never able to break into the top, let's say 3, let alone the top 8 or top 9, might now be able to get their content and get their information listed in there purely based off of the originality, the authoritativeness of their content, and being able to execute upon that. Okay, so it's not going to be a sea of sameness. At least that's what we're not seeing. It's unique perspectives that are trusted that seem to be making it. Next question. How do you download SG? Does not display with current Google account. You got to go into the labs area, as I mentioned. You have to enable it. So it's over there, but we will make sure we provide that link so you're able to do that. Is the AI ad help available for everyone? It's in semi-beta release. If you are spending enough in Google Ads, you can definitely speak to your rep and suggest for them to provide it for you. We were fortunate early enough to see it, but it's definitely in beta release. But if you have a rep already, you can definitely ask them and they will definitely enable it for you. So the next one, we talked about SG. What tool would you recommend for searching on relevant keywords? So yeah, with any campaign that you actually kind of start, it's really important to really understand your value proposition, who are you competing with, what's going on. So that's the core element of it, right? And then to do some competitive research. And the way you do that, there's different tools right now you can use. There's Ahrefs you can use. There's SEMrush you can use. Those are two tools we use here a lot at the agency. From there, you're able to download keywords. And from there, you're able to start experimenting. We like to start tight, right? We like to start bottom of the funnel. From the bottom of the funnel, we're able to generate and understand what's working and start creating positive return on ad spend campaigns. And then from there, we like to expand out more and more and more. How do you rank better on SG? Great question. Promise that we will talk more about it in a future webinar. I think I kind of alluded to what we're already seeing, but this is a very, very hot topic. What you're thinking of advertising on TikTok, Snap, Meta, other than Google search? I think it's really important. So Han asked, what's your thinking on advertising on TikTok, Snap, Meta, those other than Google search? I think we're in a world where having a very diversified, especially if you have scaled to a certain level, acquisition strategy is pretty critical, right? So you need to be able to look at, particularly behavioral signals are really well done on Snap as well as TikTok and as well as Instagram. So those really showcase and allow you to target specifically on the B2C side. On the B2B side, they're perfect for remarketing campaigns as well too, to be able to kind of showcase and keep you fresh in mind to particularly different people who visit your site or go through your checkout flow. So I think the more you expand out, the more you branch out, all of these different channels seem to work better together and do overall increase your overall conversion rates. Okay. Have you seen AI written blogs have a negative impact? Great question on AI written blogs. So we started using more or less ChatGPT. Well, it wasn't called ChatGPT then, it was GPT about 2.5 years ago. And the first use case we actually used was for AI content production, particularly related for SEO. We have a whole process on this. It's not just, you put a prompt in and you write it. And what we learned quickly on is that you need to use several tools. So you'll use a tool like Surfer SEO to develop the content brief. And then from that, you'll then be able to use, ChatGPT now, but there was other blogs other tools back then you use. We used a tool called Jarvis, which later on became Jasper. And you would be able to produce the content itself, but you still needed the human touch. You did all of this, it enabled you. And the human touch was all about going in and checking the data and making sure the information is accurate. And from that, be able to write the article and be able to make it sound coherent. So if you did all of those different things, you were able to produce a content a lot faster than it was before, right? Before it would take like 8 hours to produce high quality content. We've gotten it down to anywhere between 2.5 to 4 hours, depending on the content. Also, what's happened now is you do spend more time on research. So you're not regurgitating what's already been said. That's really, really important. What you're doing is you're trying to figure out, providing the foundation of what any reader needs, depending on the query itself. Then you're providing the uniqueness that you have, right? So it might be research that you've done or how you've put different data points together, but how are you providing some new information that's not currently out there? And we feel like it's also important as well. How do you see AI results from Google? It doesn't appear in mine. So again, you need to enable the search generative experience to be able to see that. Next questions. What research are you suggesting we're going deeper in this topic and knowing more or in actions? Great question. Again, we will provide a lot of articles. We have a pretty big resource section on our website dedicated specifically to this topic. So feel free to go to our website. We have close to, I think, 10 articles around this concept, and we're going even deeper and deeper and deeper. So you can find more information there. We also have prior webinars that we've done that talks about ChatGPT. So if you're curious about that, you can go to look at that. We also previously did another webinar on Meta and how to use Mid-Journey for ad creation and image creation. So you can definitely explore into that as well too. Let me see if I have any more questions. So we have one exact ad group, one phrase when you say move to exact. So the SCAGs again. So if the question's around SCAGs, what really that's about is per one ad group, there is one keyword, and then there's multiple ads going to one specific land page. And then there's typically two types of SCAG campaigns. One is exact match. So it's literally that keyword that's being searched, and that has to be your most profitable keyword. And then there's a phrase match, which is the deviation of that. And that's a secondary campaign. So it allows you to capture, different ways that people are particularly searching that keyword. All right. I believe I have hopefully answered most of the questions. Let me check in chat as well. One second. All right, so going through the chats now. Can you give an example of smart bidding? Sure. So what a smart bidding strategy would be is once you've established the baseline of your, and it was the target ROAS and the target CPA, those are specific examples of smart bidding. But the combination of that smart bidding needs to be used with a campaign structure. So the campaign structure that we highly recommend after you've done the core structures, which are the SCAG structures, is building up sort of a broad one based off of those, using smart bidding and then excluding all of the keywords that you're already bidding on the phrase and exact match. So that now will allow you to discover new potential keywords that could eventually move into the phrase and exact match. Okay. Have you seen your written blogs have a negative impact? No, I believe we got most of the questions. Well, thank you so much, everyone. If there's no further questions, I will be generous enough to provide 11 minutes back to you. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.